Greetings. My name is John Raphael, and I'm the Director of Educational Services with the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals. And I am here with a special installment of Let's Talk. Um, just due to some scheduling concerns and logistics, we had to kind of postpone our February 2026 Let's Talk, but that's all good. What we're doing right now, this is a recorded conversation. So when you're seeing this, it's not live. We're all live, but it's not live. And so with that said, if you do have questions or comments associated with what you're about to hear and see, I'll give you an address at the end of our broadcast to send those questions or comments. Welcome to Let's Talk. This is our monthly program where we talk with direct support professionals, people with disabilities, anybody that is interested in the work of what direct support professionals do. Today, we're talking with some direct support professionals from the beautiful state of Alaska. Alaska is actually, when it comes to direct support professional attention, elevation, it's a state that has done quite a bit for direct support professionals, more than many other states in the United States. And with that, we have representatives from that good state, but also I'm going to introduce her in just 2 seconds here, Kim Champney, and she's going to actually introduce herself, what she does, but she is what we call a champion for direct support professionals in Alaska. And she'll describe what she does. But what Kim did, along with the input from our esteemed guests, who you'll meet in just a second, they wrote an article about direct support professionals in remote Alaska. Really interesting stuff. There are remote regions in all parts of the United States. Alaska has very unique remote challenges and opportunities, as you're going to hear. And this article, if you're interested in it, it'll be in the chat box when you're watching this. And you can also get this article by, once again, at the end of the broadcast, I'll give you my email and you send me a note and I will send you the article. It's a great article. It's a very interesting article. But more than anything, what the article's about is about direct support professionals and their best practices in the beautiful state of Alaska. Just real quickly, Let's Talk has been around a long time, as is the International Journal for Direct Support Professionals. Once again, we have been around going on now 14 years. Every month we publish an international journal. From you name the topic, we've probably had an article on it. And that archive and library is available to you. Just you can reach out to me. Once again, I'll give you that at the end of the broadcast. A connection where you can get certainly this month's article, but any past articles as well. This is a collaboration it's an international journal, so we have an international partnership with VITA, Community Living Services in Canada, Toronto, Canada specifically, province of Ontario, and the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals. So together we've been doing this and we're going to continue to do it for as long as we can. Before I start with some questions, I'd like to introduce Kim Champney, and she can actually tell you about what she does and a little bit about her background. And then we're going to introduce our direct support professional champions and subjects. So, Kim, to you, who are you? What are you doing here?
Thanks, John. It's great to be here. And my name is Kim Champney, and I am the Executive Director of the Alaska Association on Developmental Disabilities, which is a state provider association. So we are a statewide nonprofit, and all of our members are organizations that provide services, such as the Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation, which you're going to hear from some amazing DSPs and from them. And as a service provider association, our goal our vision is to have a system where Alaskans with disabilities can live the life they choose to live with the support that they direct. And that comes from our state's shared vision. And when we had a collective group work on what is the vision for our services way back, and we started that work in 2016, it was, that people could live the lives they choose. And the number one thing is that we had to have a workforce with the skills and abilities to support that. And it was really that time, 10 years ago, that we started talking about how do we do this. And I really appreciated your comments about Alaska elevating the work of DSPs because we've been working hard at that. And one of those things that we have done, our provider association has started years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago, we started the Alaska Alliance of Direct Support Professionals, which is a group underneath the umbrella of our provider association, a group of DSPs. And that has been, that really was the catalyst for bringing certification to Alaska. They talked about wanting something that really demonstrated their abilities and their professionalism. And at the same time, as the leader of the provider association, I wanted to really understand providers across the state. And Alaska is big, like you said, and we really have parts of Alaska that are incredibly different, not only from down south, but from each other. So if you're a DSP, I live in Juneau, Alaska. If you're a DSP working in Juneau or you're a DSP working in Anchorage, your work is going to be incredibly different than if you live somewhere in the Western Alaska, which you'll hear from these amazing folks online. So I've had the chance to go to Bethel a couple of times. Got to know Leah before I met Jamie. And then our AADSP group was having an event, and Jamie was there speaking about her work as a DSP. And I was so struck by her ability to share the stories and about the work. So it's been just a wonderful relationship. So when you reached out, I think to Leah originally about the article, I was really honored that Leah said, "Hey Kim, can you do this with us?" And so I really feel like we're partners in this work and in elevating really some of the ways that these individuals are helping people live the life they choose to live in their home communities, in where they grew up, where their family is, and all of those things.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my background on how I came to this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just really wanted to ask you how'd you come up with the title Beyond the Road System? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. If you haven't been to Alaska, we're a huge state. If you overlay Alaska on a map of the continental United States, we stretch pretty much two-thirds of the continental United States. And out of all of that land, we have very, very few roads,
Right, right.
right? I live in Juneau, Alaska, the capital. You cannot drive to Juneau, Alaska. You have to take a ferry. You cannot drive to Bethel.
Mhm,
I don't know, these guys might know. Maybe you can take a snow machine if the weather was perfect, or you could drive maybe, a sled, dog sled, if it's frozen, but there's not a road.
mhm.
And there's certainly not a road to the many villages in the Yukon-Kuskokwim area. So it this is direct support beyond the roads. You can't get in your car and drive to your supervisor's office to problem solve.
Right. Which there could
So.
be benefit to that actually, but that's another story. Um, anyway, thank you, Kim, for that background and so forth. I'm just going to go down the list here, and I'm going to Jamie. Who are you? And tell us about your what you do, your title, and a little bit of your background, Jamie.
Um, my name is Jamie Phillip. I am a developmental disability case manager, and I recently moved to Bethel. I live in Quiglingok, but we had no choice but to get evacuated. So I'm in Bethel ever since October. But before I moved here, I was a DSP, and I got promoted after I got my DSP certification to a developmental disability case manager, and I worked as a remote for about a year, or wait, 10 months, and then I got evacuated on October. Ever since October, I've been experiencing working in a hospital, and I have an office with my supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. No, thank you, Jamie. And so this in the new kind of that new role you have, case manager, whatever it is that, do you still do direct support work?
Um, I support my DSPs that are working in our region in the YK Delta,
Okay.
and I um help them do their DSP work.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like almost a manager, mentor, coach role kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. All right. Thank you, Jamie. Let's go to Anna. Anna Nichols.
I'm Anna Nicholas. I'm from Gasiglap and working as a DSP, right, for 2 years now.
Great. Do you like it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask some more in-depth questions in a second, but 2 years. So you're new. You're new to the field in some ways, right? Uh, and hopefully you'll be a DSP a long, long time. We'll get to that in a second. And Leah, who are you?
I'm Leah O'Hearn. I'm the DSP service coordinator for YKHC, and I'm from Bethel, Alaska.
Got it. And what is a DSP service coordinator? Is that different than what Jamie does?
It's a little different. I make sure we're not getting into trouble and we're following all the rules and just keeping things running behind the desk here.
The rules. Oh, the rules. That's right. That's right, Leah, because direct support professionals got to follow regulations and rules.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about that. So thank you, Leah, and thank you all. And I'm going to just put it for a first question. And again, you kind of started this, but I'd like to know a little bit more, whoever would like to go. And again, Leah and Kim, anything you want to say about your entry into this world of supporting DSPs, not necessarily doing direct support work, but tell us your stories about becoming. What made you become a direct support professional? I'd love to know that. I think the people listening would love to know that. And about being a direct support professional, what are some things that you like doing? Why do you do this work? Because I don't know if you all get paid a heck of a lot. Generally, if you do, I'd be surprised. But DSPs don't make a lot of money, but they love what they do. We'd love to hear a little bit about what brought you into it, and why you continue to do it. So whoever would like to go, please do.
I'll go first. I applied to the position on 2019, and I've been employed with YKH Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation for 6 years and 7 months now. And when I applied to the position, client's guardian got excited, and in the village we always see each other, so he went to go ask me if I applied to the position. When I got hired, I started off as an hourly respite, and I would work 2 hours a day. Not long after I started working the 8-hour shift, the main caretaker needed a backup, so I would work 6 hours doing in-home support. Then I would finish off with 2 hours hourly respite. I would show up daily to the client's home and work the 8-hour shift. When I wouldn't be able to make that 2 hours after the 6 hours, I would make them up On the weekends, I would communicate with my supervisor and the guardians and work with each other. I enjoyed completing the objectives and goals with the client. And one time he got a favorite objective and goal. His objective and goal was to participate in physical therapy exercises. The client would lie on his stomach and turn his head from left to right. It would show excitement when I prompt him that I am going to put him on the stomach position. And I would thank the client for completing the objectives and goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. What kind of training did you get, Jamie? And what kind of training do you get?
Before I became the employee at YKHC, maybe like 20 years before I became the DSP, I went to Alaska Job Corps and I did a certified nursing assistant, and that's where I learned a lot about hands-on experience of how to work with a client. So maybe that's why I loved my job.
Yeah, they're very similar. It's very similar work, and it's a great foundation for doing direct support work, being a certified nurse's aide too. That's great. So thank you, Jamie. How about you, Anna? How did you start off, and what makes you keep doing this good work?
After watching like how the DSPs work, I wanted to try and apply. So I applied and then got hired, and I took trainings on how to fill out the forms. And then I learned those and really liked the job as a DSP.
What's some of your favorite parts of the job?
Helping out the client learn the goals and the objectives.
Yeah. Do you get involved in helping that client make come up with those goals and objectives? Do you do that?
What did you say?
Do you sometimes help your client come up with the goals and the objectives?
No. I get the goals and objectives from the supervisors. Like,
okay, all right, cool.
I have a question
Sure.
for Anna and Jamie, and really Leah might have an answer to this too. Um, Jamie and Anna, when you were hired, did you fly to Bethel for training, or did you do the training? Like tell us, I think tell people a little bit about how far away your supervisor is. Like how long does it take you to get to Bethel from Queethlick? Or you're from Queethlick, I think. Yeah. Like Anna, how would you get to, if you wanted to meet with Leah, what would it take?
I fly out to Bethel from Gasiglok.
Oh, Cassiclick, right. In a small plane, like right, a
Mm-hmm.
little tiny plane.
Mhm.
Yep.
And how does sometimes the weather is hard, right? Like, are there
Mm-hmm.
days when the planes don't come and go?
When the weather is ugly during the winter, like
Hmm.
blizzard or the wind chill's really low.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And then summertime, it's like the rain and wind.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm. And did you fly to Bethel when you were hired to do training?
Yes, I had to fly down to Bethel to do the trainings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. From
And
what
maybe, oh, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Terry.
Jamie and Kim, from what I understand, I've talked to other direct support professionals in Alaska, and airplanes are generally a very common form of transportation in your state.
Jamie, did you fly to Bethel when you were hired, first hired to do respite when you were in Quig?
Yes, Quigilingas is farther than Kasikalok. Kasikalok is kind of near to Bethel. Quigilingas is in the west coast of Bethel and it's more far, so you have to fly. Like if you have a training, you have to fly. Try to make it before tomorrow morning. Like you have to fly day ahead to Bethel if you have training.
Wow, wow.
Mhm.
How often do you have the trainings, Jamie?
Um, when you're hired, you come here to Bethel for orientation and all those things that you need to complete before you start working, like the blood draw and the background check and what else? CPR training, man training, and whatever trainings that you have to complete. There's a lot of training under Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Federation.
And everywhere, where if you're a DSP, you've got a ton of training you got to do. I don't care where you are. But it's like, wow, you once again, that's part of, I think, the interest of what I guess a challenge that would be an Alaskan DSP is that you just, well, that's the name of the article, right? Be on the road. You got to get on an airplane to go to a training. I don't know any other direct support professionals in the United States that have to do that. It's kind of, I guess it's cool if you like to fly, but it sounds like it's a complicated thing. You got to be away from
I
your
don't
family.
like to. I don't like to fly with a plane.
I'm with you. Um, and you got to be away from your family and, so on and so forth. Are you paid to do that? Like to fly? Do you get paid for that day of travel?
We get paid.
Good, 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 good. Interesting. So, um, and I guess this is where we were kind of hitting this question. So, what are some challenges in a rural place? What are some things that you have to face as direct support professionals in remote and rural areas and things like that?
Some challenges. Working in the village. We have no hospital,
Mm.
and our our clients need to travel with a 207, that's a smaller plane, or they use a caravan
Mhm.
to get more health care. One example is when I was working in the client's home that I observed a client that she didn't look too good, so I notified the dad. He then called the health aide to do a home visit. After seeing the client needed to go to Bethel to
Mm.
get more care at the hospital.
Mhm.
And another challenge is in the villages that we have no running waters.
There's no is how do you obtain water? How do you get it?
We haul water manually
Mhm.
with snow machine.
Mhm. Mhm.
We go to the tundra to go get water. I don't know how Gasiglook does theirs, but when we don't have water, we have to go like 10 miles away from the village with a snow machine, and we get ice, and we have to take care of the water by heating it
Mhm.
manually.
Mhm.
Like
Do
if
you-
the client needs to take baths.
Sure. Let me ask, are there regulations about that water being a certain temperature and that kind of thing? Because I know those kind of things they're highly regulated throughout our system. Like for instance, the water temperature in a home that has a water heater, it can't go above 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So I mean, there's like all the. Are there any rules about that water?
No,
Not in people's personal homes.
Okay. Okay.
I was gonna just say something about the and I know you have a question about cultural awareness a little bit later,
Sure.
but just think
Okay.
about the value of having somebody like Anna or Jamie who grew up in the village
Mm,
providing direct support because they know how to do that stuff,
yeah.
right? I mean, Jamie and Anna, like you know what village life is like in your community. And I think that if somebody from outside your community moved there and tried to be provide direct support, I just think that would be challenging because it's so different. Like, I don't know if you guys have stories about that, but, or Leah, if you have a comment about that.
Yeah.
It is different. I mean, there's so many different types of challenges that our DSPs face that they just deal with it naturally. They know how to do it. So
Mhm.
it's a big help for their clients and their clients' families too to have that knowledge.
Sure. Sure. No, it makes sense, Leah. And here's the thing. Once again, it speaks to um, we hear it all the time, right? In our field, person centered. We got to be person centered. I'm sure you've heard that person centered, but what does that mean? Um, First and foremost, it means knowing how an individual lives. And that sounds obvious. It's not necessarily obvious, especially if you obviously you're familiar with the environment. But yeah, I mean, if somebody came to live in one of your communities as a direct support professional, I bet they would need a lot of support to understand how people live, right? Um, uh, and I think one thing that DSPs do is when there is a challenge in how somebody lives, even if it's something you're used to, DSPs work with people to face those challenges. Um, it's part of their job. It's one of the few professions that you do that. It's kind of cool. It's really cool. Um, anyway, so let's go to this question about cultural awareness and understanding that uh, in your work with the people that you're supporting, whether it's religion or food, music, all of these things are all parts of culture that DSPs need to be aware of and support people in. So, are there interesting stories you might have? Again, keeping confidentiality that might be something that is associated with culture.
Can I ask a specific, I'm going to put Leah on the spot for a minute,
Sure.
because she and I had a really good conversation about food
Mhm.
and subsistence. And I know that Jamie and Anna could add to this, but Leah, can you talk a little bit about um, how subsistence is such an integral, important part of life in Alaska and rural Alaska?
Um, I think when people think of Alaska and they think about things like coming here for sport fishing or sport hunting and things like that, um, it's not like that over here. It's an everyday necessity because
Mm.
there are no roads. It takes planning and to get to a grocery store where you can buy groceries or things you need for your home. So subsistence is not just something we do for fun. It's something we do for survival, for everyday survival. If we didn't have the subsistence, if we didn't have the moose and the fish and the birds and the berries, people would be living, without that those everyday needs, food needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that those that are listening to this that aren't familiar with Alaska and your area and hearing something like that, that it can be easily romanticized, right? It's like, oh, and it's not about that. That's not what this has nothing to do with that. It's about, direct support happens where it happens. And we shouldn't look at this as, oh wow, those Alaskan DSPs, they hunt and fish. Well, just people from Alaska hunt and fish. And I think that's very important. That's a very important thing to for people to understand. Is it? Let me ask you, Leah and Jamie and Anna and everybody, uh, is that a challenge? I mean, that kind of living, or that's what you do?
I think it's one of the challenges around that would be going to the store and buying 2 pounds of ground beef for like $35. That's a challenge. But when you have a community and you have the hunters in your community who are bringing in the subsistence and they're sharing not just with their own family or their own household, they're sharing it to everyone else in their community and in their family. So it's a community thing. It's not just personal for your own gain,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that I think that's helpful to understand.
I was, can
Yeah.
I, Anna and I were having this conversation when we were talking about our work, and I asked you this question of like, how is it different being a DSP in Kasigalik versus like Bethel? And she's like, I've never been a DSP outside of Kasigalik. And I think when you ask a question of like, is it hard to live there? Well, Anna, you've lived in Kasigalik your entire life, right? Like that's your life. And I don't know. And Jamie then had to move from Quigillingok to Bethel and because of a typhoon evacuated and hasn't been able to go back. And I just think that there's this, it's like when you are at home, you know you're at home. And when you're not there, you're homesick. Um and I don't know, Anna, if you want to talk a little bit about your work is really around like helping with food gathering and the things that the part of being living the life every day, right? Or Jamie, if you want to talk about being displaced from your home and how that
Um,
feels.
yeah. Ever since I came here to Bethel, I've been noticing that there are a lot of differences. By living in Quiglingug, we have to use snow machines or like walking because like the store or the clinic is really close or the post office, and we can walk. Ever since I came here to Bethel, because everything is far from each other, like the store is like in the town, and I live way in the really far in the tundra. I mean, Leah knows about this one because she lives in a different part of the town. I've been learning a lot of how it is to live in a small city, like driving cars. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what was the question? I mean, it's really different.
I think what Kim was getting at too, you got displaced. I mean, because of the typhoon. I mean, are you homesick for?
I always be homesick every day,
Yeah.
but I love my job.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like when I was a remote case manager in the village, it's like I was practicing how to be like a manager.
Mhm.
And now that I'm here in person, I'm like thinking that you have to be positive in order to have your job, surviving in your job.
Mhm. Especially as a supervisor or manager, because that's a tough job, very tough job.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
But Anna,
Yeah.
anything you wanted to add?
Mm, no.
No. Okay. Well, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but we only have a little bit of time here left. I really want to talk about this because it's so important. Um, each of you, Jamie and Anna, you are uh, two of the very few, when you look at the big picture, you're two nationally certified direct support professionals. You have a national certification credential from the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals, which means you meet the standards and you meet the criteria of excellence in direct support practice. And that just, we don't just give those away like candy. You have to work pretty hard to get these various levels of certification. And I want you to talk about this in a second. But there are, what we know of in the United States, approximately 1.5 million direct support professionals. Right now, with the national credential, let's say about 20,000. We're going to round it up. About 20,000. And you're among those people. And you're among the few hundred, few dozen from Alaska that have a national credential, and that it's DSP 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to get into the specifics of the credential, but the reality is both you, Jamie and Anna, you have passed that certification. And talk a little bit about that. Jamie, you're a big deal. Jamie, you're a big deal. You got a DSP 3, my friend. You've got the highest level of certification in the United States. And Anna is on her way. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're on your way, Anna. You're on your way. And Jamie, Anna, talk about that a little bit. Your experiences going through this certification. Just kick it around a little bit. And brag. Please brag as much as you'd like to.
To become a DSP 1, 2, and 3, you, I mean, join Zoom training, sharing testimonials of what you do in your work, completing objectives and goals, following the code of ethics. After I got my DSP 1, 2, and 2 and 3 certificates, I realized that I have a heart for the client I support. We understood each other. I knew what the client wanted or what he would refuse. The client would communicate with me that he wants to be fast or like getting body exercises. Because the client I support was bedridden, and the client would get tired of being on the bed. I would also notice the client of when he is asking for which objective and goal to complete.
Mm-hmm. 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 And what did you do to get that certification? If you could tell everybody, what did you have to do to like get the badge? You get badges and they kind of add up. And how would you get a badge? What would you do?
Telling your story, I mean, like telling a testimonial of what you do in the client's home. I mean, when you work with a client.
Right, right. And it could be the littlest thing, like help, like you said before, helping somebody with physical therapy, right? And helping them move their head or move around. And it seems like something so subtle or so little, but it's a big thing for somebody. But you're telling your story of how you help that person with that goal and objective. And that's what makes a professional a professional. You're doing something because it's part of that role that you have with that person, and whatever that might be, you know. That's great. And but Anna, you got the DSP-1. Um, Tell us your story about getting that certification.
I got my DSP-1, I think last year. I had to like learn in Zoom online classes and
Mhm.
doing the self-paced classes and working on the testimonials.
Right. Do you remember any particular testimonial that you did that was kind of fun?
I forgot them because it's been a while. I
Sure.
didn't do those testimonials.
Anna, that's the thing. Because DSPs, you're doing stuff every day, right? And you got probably a million stories. And so these testimonials you just talked about, I mean, yeah, you probably did stuff last week you forgot, right? You know, it's like, well, um, but that's the key. It's telling your stories and giving you credit for that, you know. And that's the whole process of the credential. And you know, we're very proud of you, and hopefully you guys are proud of yourselves too.
A quick
Um,
question. I remember, Anna, when you talked to me, you weren't sure about certification. Like your supervisor kind of pushed you into it. And then can you talk about that? Because you were only going to do DSP-1 and then now you're doing the whole thing. Like why?
mm,
What
yeah,
made you change your mind?
that's a good question.
What made me change my mind was like Liz was pushing me to getting the second and third one too. Even my supervisor.
So
Do
they
you,
pushed you and then you did that? Sorry, John.
that's okay.
Yes, I did that. Plus,
And how did
I
it
wanted
feel?
I
Yeah.
wanted to take them too.
Mhm.
Why? How did that feel like to get your DSP-1?
It it was pretty good. I wanted to try and receive my second and third one too after.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Can I ask what? So you get these you get the certificate, you get the credential or certificate. What do you get in return? Do you get a more money? Do you get a more? What happens when you get the certificate?
Like after receiving the certificate,
Yeah. Do you get like a pay increase?
I don't really know about that one. They
Okay.
didn't tell me.
Oh, okay. I mean, Leah, is there something in the program that if people get the certificate, they get something for it?
Yes, they for every certain number of badges you get incentive pay, and so does your organization.
Good, good.
That's
Yeah.
a state of Alaska
Yeah, that is
initiative.
a
Hmm.
yeah, it is.
Good.
So say and then they added in a new one recently for Alaska as well. They added like a $2,000 incentive for getting the DSP-1 for completing the DSP-1 training.
Wow.
And then I believe it's going to be the same for the DSP 2 and 3.
Good. Good. Yeah, we push that we don't have any control over that. we provide the e-badge program, but we encourage states, as Kim can probably tell you with her work with us over the years, we push states particularly to make sure that they compensate, that they get money together to compensate people when they get this certificate. It's not fair for somebody to go through something and not receive something. And it's up to the state to do that, really, ultimately. Kim, you want
I
to say
wanted to, yeah, I just, Anna, when you were talking with me about the certificate, you felt like it was helpful.
something?
Like you kind of learned things about your job that you didn't know before that made the job easier. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what do you, am I remembering right? Was it helpful to do the DSP classes?
It helped me more on understanding how to do the work better
Yeah,
than the past.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I heard that you guys have to take MANT, like the whatever it's called, MANT, the crisis intervention thing, whatever that's called. And that's something that can be very helpful when you're working with folks that have, very strong personalities or behavioral stuff going on. But I mean, DSPs get a lot of training, but the e badges, hopefully, like you said, Anna, it helps you think about your job differently, right? It's kind of cool.
And one thing Jamie would share, because I've had her tell the story of certification several times,
Mm.
that the e-badges were like prizes,
Mm.
right, Jamie? That you felt like you got a prize every time you got an e-badge.
Yes, I would be excited every day, every morning. Like I would like when I wake up and then I would be so like excited to check my email to see if I passed my testimonial.
Yeah.
And then if I see an e-badge, I would like want to complete more testimonials.
Oh, wow.
It was fun.
That's so cool, Jamie. Because again, it's like you're for those that aren't familiar with the e-badges, and I'm not going to go into it deeply, but you pick a thing that you're doing as a DSP, whatever that might be. It could be something as documentation. You're going to document something about medical needs. So you're going to write a story about how you documented how you helped somebody take their insulin, whatever it might be. So you write that up.
Yeah, it helped.
Yeah, sorry.
It helped me in my work to be positive in taking, I mean, like supporting the client. It encouraged me to want to achieve more goals, want to let the client achieve more goals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Well, look, we have to wrap up because we're kind of limited in time here. Um, but I want to thank you all very much for just having this conversation, getting a little idea of what it's like to do direct support in a rural place like Alaska, and given the challenges of a rural environment, taking an airplane to training. I mean, there's not a lot of DSPs that either take an airplane to training or to orientation, and that's kind of cool. Unless, of course, you don't like flying, and that's not good. But anyway, but all the things that you discussed, they're very interesting, and I think very meaningful for a lot of us that just aren't familiar with what goes on in your beautiful state. And once again, I want to thank Alaska for being a state that recognizes direct support professionals for who they are as being professionals. They're not some kind of worker. No, they're professionals, and I think Jamie and Anna talked about that. They're now credentialed. They have a national certification, and you see why, because they can talk about their work in a way that I think describes a professional job and occupation, as opposed to just something I do to get a couple dollars. So we appreciate that. And Leah and Kim, your support of the direct support professionals, and Mary for supporting what you do to support this initiative. Thank you. And we have to always thank our publishers, Angie Nethercott and Chanel Salonia. Without them, we wouldn't have this journal every month. And thank you for all you do to keep this going. And once again, as I promised, you can reach out to me, J. Raphael at nadsp.org. For if you have questions that you'd like to ask any of our participants today, that'd be great. Send me a question and I can send it to them. Or if you want the article, I can also send you a copy of the article. The articles are archived. This recording will also be on our site for anybody to look at. And we are just thankful that you participated with us today in this really special and a very unique Let's Talk broadcast. So, Kim and Jamie and Leah, Anna and Mary, thank you all for being with us today. We appreciate you. And I can't wait to one day visit you in your beautiful state. But I got to be able to afford the plane fare to get there, and that's very expensive these days. And I'm not driving, so there. Appreciate you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording now.